Hello, Hoboken, Hudson County. I'm Councilman Mike DeFusco, and this is the inaugural episode of Mike Behind the Mic. I am Mike, and this is a microphone, and I thank my friends over at Hudson Media Group for inviting me on to talk all things Hoboken and Hudson County, politics, culture, food. Ultimately, I'm a councilman in Hoboken, but what got me involved 6 years ago was a belief that Hudson County was an amazingly diverse county, a place where we had great families cooking up great meals. We had actors that have gone on to Hollywood film careers, and we've had politicians that have, brought us onto the national stage, both for the good and for the bad. I wanted to get involved because I thought we needed a voice in Hoboken that was going to represent not just culture and diversity and inclusion, but also somebody that was going to say it like it was. And so for the past five plus years on the Hoboken City Council, I've spoken truth to power. And when invited on this show of Anthony Romano, our fantastic fifth district freeholder, we started talking about ways that we can work together to beyond politics to help our small businesses and help our county and our city move forward. So this is an opportunity to talk directly to you, Hoboken and Hudson County, to create a conversation, a voice that is not just from a council pulpit, but one that's inclusive, where everybody has a chance to have their opinions said. So this is going to stream live on Facebook, on YouTube, and a couple social media platforms. I really do encourage you to dial in, to ask questions, to challenge me, to agree with me, to disagree with me. Ultimately, if anybody watches the city council meetings, my opinions are thought out. I stick by them, but I'm also open to a productive and robust debate and community dialogue. So on today's show, we're giving this a run. We're going to see what works, what doesn't work. We're going to talk about the small business community in Hoboken. We're going to talk about how we were one of the first in the state, and quite frankly, the country, to roll out a small business recovery plan that's helping, as we speak, our small businesses reopen amidst a national pandemic, an international pandemic. We're going to talk about our Hoboken budget. We're going to dig a little deep into that to talk about why one of the most affluent cities, not just in the county, but this entire country, is facing a $14 million budget shortfall. I'm going to take questions from you, the viewership, and we're going to take it from there. So let's take a couple steps back. 5 years ago, actually right before the 4th of July, I launched a campaign to run for city council. I had spent 5 years on the Hoboken Zoning Board, which for those of you that don't know, is a pretty influential board. It's a board that grants variances or exceptions to our city's zoning rules. The Zoning Board is a very influential board because, quite frankly, with 5 votes of the board, any development project can be approved or denied. It's the second most powerful board to the city council, quite frankly. When I sat on that board for 5 years, from the ages of 28 to when I won city council in my early 30s, I watched government inefficiency at its finest. I've watched good applications get turned down and bad applications see the light of day. And I wasn't quite sure why that was happening. And the answer is politics. The answer is as old as the Greek and Roman republics. At the end of the day, projects get done because of who you know, and unfortunately, that's what needed to stop. So when I saw a development project impact a green space behind my own house, I knew that somebody had to stand up to the entrenched political establishment in Hoboken. So I ran for city council against a 21-year incumbent, somebody that had great community record, somebody that was very entrenched in the community, quite frankly, a very lovely person as well. And everyone said, now's not your time, kid. It's not really, your chance to have your voice heard. Give your opponent another 4 years, and then at that time, we'll reconsider you. And I said, I don't agree to that. I do agree that my opponent is a very lovely person, but if it's not my time, if this isn't the time for a young person that has a progressive background, a professional background in Manhattan, then we're never going to change things in Hoboken. We're never going to change things in Hudson County. So I ran against the 21-year incumbent and won by 15% in 2015. At that time, it was a pretty remarkable election because you ran as part of Old Hoboken or you ran as part of New Hoboken. You didn't really run as an independent candidate, and that's what I'm most proud of. 2 years after that, I ran for mayor of Hoboken in a 6-way race I lost that election by 400 votes, 403 votes to be exact. Quite frankly, a very politicized election that made international headlines for a racist flyer that was illegally distributed using my name, attacking our now mayor, Ravi Bala. A lot of people will argue that, that Ravi did it. I'm not going to comment on that. All I will say is that the mayor has never actually stepped forward and called for a proper investigation. Maybe we'll get to that in future shows, especially as the mayoral election comes back. But right now, we are just after a 2019 council election where I ran against the mayor's hand-picked slate. In this very studio, as a matter of fact, I came to debate my opponent, and she didn't show up. That's where our relationship with Hudson Media Group started, and where I'm proud to see it today. So we now have a great opportunity to have a community dialogue, a robust conversation, and we now have our first question from Andrew Impastato. You might know him as the Hoboken parking dude. He's somebody that has been quite outspoken on parking issues across the Mile Square City. And his question is, can you please give me a reason why the HPU, the Hoboken Parking Utility, is not picking up the calls that hundreds of residents are calling with questions and services needed? Andrew, it's a great question, and I think the inception of this question is, what is the HPU? The utility is an independent department within the city of Hoboken that is a profit-generating department. Unfortunately, and I don't agree with this, parking in our Mile Square City is a business. It's how we fill budget gaps, and it's been used that way since as far back as I can frankly remember, probably well before that as well. So the utility should be used intelligently. It should be used to incentivize creative parking. We shouldn't be hurting people that own cars. We shouldn't be penalizing people that want to ride bikes or walk. But ultimately, the utility is being used as a profit-generating department. And as such, why would they respond to the calls of residents? Why, if they're under their authority, they've done something incorrect or they haven't properly followed our rules and regulations as spelled out in local city ordinance, why would they respond to an angry constituent? I've long said that the Hoboken Parking Utility is staffed by countless thoughtful, hardworking public safety enforcement officers and a director appointed by the mayor. Ultimately, however, we need leadership that's going to raise the level of customer service, acknowledge that although it is a for-profit enterprise, that we're going to work with the taxpayers, with residents, with visitors to make sure that parking isn't just a money-making operation for the city, but is actually, think about this, an opportunity for us to create a parking plan that can be followed worldwide as a template for good community partnerships. And one of those ideas that we've long talked about is, quite frankly, real-time parking availability. And what that really means is identifying where parking spaces are currently, where there's a bulk of spaces available, and where there is demand. Real-time availability, using technology to advance our parking conversation. Now, what this does is it helps parkers understand where they can find spots and where they should avoid. The in-demand spots should be at a higher rate, and the lesser demand spots should be at a lower rate. So we're incentivizing people to park in Hoboken, but also creating a financial kind of blueprint that will benefit the city of Hoboken and the financial model that what this current mayor is trying to achieve. In doing so, we also start to implement technology to guide people to our parking garages. If you go anywhere in Europe, anywhere in Latin America, quite frankly now, you'll know the number of spots that are available in any given parking garage. You should be able to use an app to see that in garage C, there's 18 spots available. In garage A, there's 74. And then direct people directly to where those spots are. So this is all a long answer to Andrew's question, which is why the HPO doesn't pick up concerns of residents, because they don't want to. Because they know they're not in the right. They know that over 3.5 years into a promise that they made that they were going to revolutionize parking in Hoboken, it's simply more of the same. And that's exactly why I say we need new energy and new ideas, not just in politics, but in the parking space as well. And I encourage everyone to take a look at Andrew's Parking Dude app, as well as all his social media channels. He's fiercely independent. He has a number of opinions about parking and other subjects, and I think that there's a lot of good stuff. When we come back, more community conversations, and I'll meet you on the other side of this break.
Hi, I'm Pat O'Melia with The City Show, and I'm here to ask you to vote for my friend, 5th District Freeholder, Anthony L. Romano, more commonly known as Stick Romano. Freeholder Romano has been a tireless advocate for the residents of Hoboken and my Jersey City Heights. Whether it's parks, public transportation, water and sewer upgrades, and pumping stations in Hoboken, Freeholder Romano has delivered and will continue to do so. On July 7th, I'm asking you to vote for Cory Booker, Albio Series, basketball legend, my friend Anthony L. Romano, and all the Column B Freeholder candidates. I'm Pat O'Melia. Remember to vote, and thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy DeGeese, the chairwoman for the Hudson County Democratic Organization. Here to remind you that we have a very important election coming up. Our primary election will be primarily vote by mail, and it'll be held on July 7th, 2020. So pay attention to what's coming in your mail, follow all of the instructions, and mail back postage is paid for. I'm also here to endorse our candidates. The HCDO line is on column B. All of our candidates represent strong leadership for Hudson County. Time and time again, their proven leadership has given Hudson County some of the best unmatched constituent services in the entire state. Many of those serving our most vulnerable populations, like our seniors, our youth, our veteran, and our immigrants. One of those freeholders, Anthony Stick Romano, who represents Hoboken and parts of downtown and the Heights of Jersey City, is one of my favorite candidates of all. Not only because he is a close friend of mine and works tirelessly for this county, but he has led the other freeholders to connect with the advocacy groups and the nonprofits in his area. Before any type of leadership and policy, he makes sure he's consulting back with the community. That's why our constituent services here are completely unmatched. I and him are incredibly proud of the open space initiatives that have improved parks, especially for our youth and our youth with disabilities. He's incredibly proud, as I am, of his senior initiatives and his veteran initiatives too, that keep our community inclusive and together. Anthony Stick Romano is a great freeholder, and his continued service to Hudson County will just continue to propel us forward. So please, on July 7th, do not forget to vote, whether you're doing it by mail or voting provisionally at a limited polling place or dropping it off at a ballot box drop-off. Please vote our Democratic line. Keep Hudson County strong and united as strong Democrats, progressing the community, bringing unmatched constituent services to all of its citizens. Thank you.
I am running for re-election for freeholder of the 5th District. My district includes Hoboken, Jersey City Heights, and parts of downtown Jersey City. I have always made a commitment to public service. My Hudson County experience includes law enforcement as a Hoboken police captain, education as a Hoboken high school teacher, and at St. Peter's University, and also the honor of being elected as your freeholder. Hoboken and Jersey City have been my whole life. I've always advocated for education advancements to ensure our children's futures. Improvements and upgrading of our parks are very important to ensure that those children with special needs can also enjoy our facilities. I'm proud to say I'm bilingual. I regularly engage with different ethnic groups and religious denominations. I enjoy learning about everyone's cultures. It's important, I believe, as both a member of the law enforcement community and as an elected official, to know the cultures and some of the traditions of the communities that you serve. It makes the residents and constituents feel that you really do care about them. And by the way, I love the food. I've advocated for our seniors, our veterans, the disabled, and for affordable housing. I support expanding public transportation for Hoboken and Jersey City residents. I am proud to work with Tom DeGeese and his staff, our county executive, and my fellow colleagues on the Freeholder Board. Please get your votes by mail in, because the primary is on July 7th. Thank you for your support always.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Mike DeFusco, and this is Mike Behind the Mic. And today we have a very special guest. We have Greg Delaquila from the Hoboken Business Alliance. And this is a first show issue, but I lost my mic, so I'm going to just reach down and get it real fast. And we have Greg from the Hoboken Business Alliance that's going to talk about, hello, Greg.
Hey, Mike.
Excuse me. Okay, here we go.
Mike, you lost your mic.
Greg, I lost my ear thing, and you look dapper as always. So thank you for joining me on the show today. Greg is the Hoboken Business Alliance president, and this was a alliance that was launched by the City Council last year by the formation of the Special Improvement District. And Greg, I just wanted to thank you for the hard work of the Alliance, working with the city, launching our Parklets program, and wanted to just talk to you about a couple of the programs that you guys have rolling out in the coming weeks and months.
Well, thanks, Mike. I mean, look, I am so happy. I've spent most of my professional career, my volunteerism, at least during my professional career, representing the business community in one way or another, through the Rotary Club, through the Chamber of Commerce, and now serving as the president of the Hoboken Business Alliance, which is the first improvement district in Hoboken. And what I would tell you is, it is such a great opportunity that every person, city council, mayor's office, everybody is behind this improvement district. And it's really great to know that we have everybody's support. And just so everyone hears it, the things that we're going to be doing as the Hoboken Business Alliance, and we are already doing, is a marketing campaign that will start to publicize all of the good that Hoboken businesses have to offer. That parking isn't a problem in Hoboken. You just need to know how to find it and work within the rules, right? So from publicizing the good that Hoboken businesses have to offer to doing visual improvements, we put planters, flower boxes on the light poles. We're going to be wrapping utility boxes, working with the Historical Museum, local artists to put artwork in vacant storefronts, doing a retail market analysis so that we understand who our shoppers are, what stores they want to shop within, so we can fill the vacant storefronts with businesses that will actually do well. So, I mean, I could go on probably for multiple segments on all the good things that the Improvement District is going to be working on over the next 3 to 5 years.
Walk us through, as the former president of the Hoboken Chamber of Commerce, this is quite a kind of a different kind of dynamic than we used to have back then. Can you just walk us through how the Hoboken Chamber differs from the Business Alliance?
So the Chamber of Commerce is a fully volunteer or a membership based on voluntary membership, right? So if you want to become part of the chamber, you would join, pay your membership fees, and the chamber would then represent only its membership. We would represent the community at large, but our stakeholders are our members. We would do a lot of advocacy work. The thing that we struggled with, I think, or at least I did with the chamber, was working with the city council or the mayor's office on a lot of ordinance changes and things that would be so fluid. And with the difference being with the alliance, with the improvement district, I have an appointee by the mayor's office, and I have a city council person. So this is a true public-private partnership to revitalize and support economic development in the city.
That's a great point.
I think that's the
Greg.
major.
And then, just in terms of the colorful aspects of the HBA, you mentioned our Art Box push, something that I and the City Council was very proud to advocate for last year. We did the closed summer streets with you just this past Sunday. We're working with the Business Alliance to roll out streetlets and parklets to help small business expand into our street. So this is a real forward-looking partnership between the government of Hoboken and the private businesses of Hoboken. Now, there was some controversy whether or not using tax dollars to fund the Business Alliance was kosher, was going to be something we wanted to see. I personally believe that those buildings and those property owners that are in our business districts should be giving back to a more vibrant, colorful, economically diverse Hoboken. And I didn't know if you had any thoughts to add into that.
I do. Like I said, I could do a couple segments on this stuff. It's been my whole life, right? So let me go through some of the points that you made and start with, look, the pandemic that closed down the United States of America, that closed down Hoboken, I think would be much more devastating to businesses if the Business Alliance was not created and we did not have the assessed dollars that we have. We would be in a much worse position. You know, our board is comprised of mostly property owners, commercial property owners, and some business owners. So from the piloted Summer Street program to supporting streeteries and getting these businesses to expand outside onto the sidewalk, that was done by the government. But we, as the Business Alliance, our mission is to enhance city services. So we went out and purchased barricades and turf and wheel stops and a whole variety of things that the business owners would have otherwise had to do themselves to support the business owners to put a streetery outside so they can continue to expand their footprint out onto the sidewalk. So, I mean, in terms of
and to that point, I think just to explain to our viewers here is that I can't tell you how many businesses I've put in touch with Greg and Stuart, who is the actual executive director of this fantastic organization, to help them, through the organizational aspects of working, to launch their Summer Streets program. And that's exactly the kind of public-private partnership that we need in the city of Hoboken. And Greg, you're right. We have so many things to talk about in the future. I wanted to have you on the first show that we did here, even though my earpiece keeps on falling out, to kind of launch the kind of programs that we're trying to see in Hoboken. So we'll get you back on in the future.
I want to say one other point. One other point because you touched on it, and it's important for everyone to know this. It's an assessment, right? The city council approved a budget. The organization is run by Hoboken commercial property owners, and we assess the property owners, and we take that budget. It's all transparent. It's all above board, and we use those collective dollars to do what you could otherwise, as a business owner or commercial property owner, not do on your own. So we're doing it as a collective group, and we're doing it in the best interests of the property owners and commercial business owners, which we are ourselves.
Solid point. And the point is here also is that, for instance, my district, downtown Hoboken, which is the higher confluence of bars, restaurants, commercial districts, is putting in the most, but also getting the most in return from the Hoboken Business Alliance. So although it's not, for instance, a special improvement district of a small portion of the city, it encompasses the entire city, the joint funds are going to be helping all ends of the city in proportional ways. So the assessment, in my opinion, is called for, is needed. It is strength in numbers, and when we have talented people like Greg and Stuart Matter representing us on the Alliance, I think the future is pretty bright on an economic level for us. So, Greg, you'll come back on with me?
Of course I will. And thanks.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Okay?
All right.
You got it.
Everybody,
take care.
Thank you for watching as I played with my my ear mic for that entire segment. This is a pilot show test, but stay with me as we get through the next break. When we come back, we're going to take a few more questions, and we're going to wrap it up with some thoughts on the coming months in Hoboken.
You know those times when you need to see the doctor, but you just can't get to the doctor? So where do you go? Go to the App Store, download the Telemed app from RWJ Barnabas Health, and you see the doctor right away. From any mobile device, whenever you want, wherever you are.
Quality care, no appointment necessary. The doctor is online when you download the Telemed app.
Don't you feel better already?
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Most women who give birth recover without problems, but any woman can have complications after the birth of a baby. Learn the post-birth warning signs, such as fever, headache, chest pain, shortness of breath, increased bleeding, or thoughts of hurting yourself or someone else. Knowing these can save your life or the life of someone that you love. Trust your instincts. If you feel something is wrong, call and get evaluated by your healthcare provider. If your symptoms get worse or you do not hear back from your physician, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room.
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Of the inaugural episode of Mike Behind the Mic. Again, Mike, here we are. Great interview with our Hoboken Business Line President, Greg Dell'Aquila. We'll definitely have him back in the future and, to talk about what the Alliance is doing. Now a couple questions from our viewers. Anthony Campanelli, I am concerned with the city finances. We have a significant number of new condo construction throughout town and would expect all the new construction to generate an increase in tax proceeds. This is a phenomenal question. It's something that I often talk about. How can Hoboken have a nearly $120 million budget, one of the more affluent populations paying into a tax rateable base, new construction, small businesses feeding into our tax coffers, yet we're at a $14 million budget deficit this year. Specifically, the mayor of Hoboken, Ravi Bala, has not even presented the city council with a budget as of today, and we're already half the way through the year. We know that there's a $14 million deficit. $7 million of that existed before COVID. So Mr. Campanelli's question is very well founded. Where's the money going? And the answer is a bloated government. I know you hear people talking about, top-heavy governments, but that's Hoboken. We have a mayor's office that was larger than the size of Dawn Zimmer's when she was elected and through her 8 years in public life. When I called the mayor out for having two of his campaign staff, his chief of staff is actually his campaign manager, and his deputy chief of staff was a council candidate that ran with the mayor. When I called him out for these two appointments, he just moved them into other places of the budget, including now one of the most powerful positions in the entire city government, which is the business administrator. So think about this. The mayor's deputy campaign manager in 2017 is now the business administrator for the city of Hoboken. That's insane. This person doesn't have any background in finance, in city leadership, and his only municipal experience was running a campaign for the mayor. This is why the city is in such great dire straits right now. If you look at other areas of spending, our corporation council, the city's law department, has grown in size, and the number of lawsuits and the amount of money we're spending in special counsel has grown also. Lawyers and the legal industry are some of the biggest lobbyists in the entire state of New Jersey. This mayor is a lawyer himself. He worked for the state's largest political law firm, and now he's of counsel at a Republican-leaning law firm. So, in my humble opinion, there's contracts being wheeled out of our city at the expense of taxpayers, that are only benefiting lawyers. Why do you think there's so many lawsuits in Hoboken? Any reasonable government would negotiate, would find solutions before they get to a litigious situation. Yet, this city government is constantly mired in litigation that could have been avoided. That's because lawsuits benefit those in power. We have a parking utility that we talked about with Andrew Impastato that is being used to plug budget deficits. And frankly, our city directors are making far too much money. We should be hiring the most qualified people, not political appointments, and I think that the rank and file of City Hall needs to be elevated before our city directors do. And I think that once we improve morale of our city workers, then you start to feel the services. But that doesn't fix the budget. And until we actually address the situation where we haven't negotiated with our employee trade unions, where we haven't dealt with a health insurance contract of a political vendor that is one of the largest bundlers for Ravi Bala, until the city council is willing to stand up to the mayor for taking $5 million from our library to plug a budget deficit, our city is going to continue to be in this place. I, as I started out by saying, have never had the support of Old Hoboken, have never had the support of what's referred to as New Hoboken. I am unafraid to say what I've just said because the city directors don't support me, and quite frankly, at the end of the day, I don't need their support. The support that I have always sought and will always continue to seek support from are the people that elect me in the First Ward, people that understand that it is not easy to do what I do to stand up and speak truth to power. So Anthony, we're going to be working through this question in the 2020 budget, and I hope that we can have a forensic audit to properly understand where the money is going and how it's being misspent. Bill Miller, how are Hoboken restaurants doing since you pushed and worked with the administration to allow streeteries, parklets, and such? Can it be expanded like Asbury Park is doing, closing down a full street like Sinatra Drive? Terrific question, Bill. So in the heat of the pandemic back in April, I knew that eventually the economy would have to reopen. I knew that the governor was working hard to get things back on track. So working with the council president, working with the mayor and his administration, we developed a multifaceted business economic recovery plan that charted a really forward-thinking course for small businesses in Hoboken. Those include what you see right now if you walk down the street. You see parklets, streeteries, closing down of streets so businesses can bundle together and create activated summer streets. And those are plans that really kind of gestated in the council chambers during the peak of this pandemic. We need to be very careful that we continue to maintain safe social distancing, that businesses continue to enforce social distancing rules and regulations. But I am so pleased to see that the policies that I pushed for and worked with the administration to enact are currently charting a new course for not just Hoboken, but the entire state. To that end, Asbury Park, Red Bank, and other like-minded cities have also rolled out similar programs. And I'm really happy to see it. One of the things that Asbury Park is doing extraordinarily well, actually, is they closed down the entire stretch of Cookman over the course of the weekend. And that creates a great community feeling. Something that I am working with the administration as well as the Hoboken Business Alliance on rolling out in Hoboken. Just last week, we closed down Newark Avenue to complete Summer Street where businesses could operate. And that was the first of many summer streets that we're going to be working on. Sinatra is actually a great idea. It's also a problem area for us in downtown Hoboken with the firework issue that we're facing, as well as motorcycle gangs and Hoboken being a waterfront destination for the region. We're seeing a number of out-of-town folks come to town, not respecting our social distancing and safe masking rules. And I am working with the Business Alliance as well as the administration to consider closing down Sinatra Drive for a certain amount of time to help aid in not just a business revitalization program, but also a very clever summer experience that I think we will need. Ultimately, it comes down on our police, the administration, to continue enforcement of quality of life issues that we've long had. These are great questions. This is a great show. And we have, another question, a good one. Oswaldo Castillo, column B all the way on the 7th? Yes. Simple answer is yes. Column B, for those that may not know, is the Hoboken Democratic Party line. As a Democrat, as somebody that is an independent, I believe that our county government at all levels has delivered for us. Albio Ceres, Anthony Romano, and quite frankly, all the way to the top at Joe Biden. We need leaders that are going to be able to deliver in a very difficult economic and political time. I am somebody that has always challenged the political status quo, but when things are working, we need to support those that have made it work. Anthony and Romano and I are dear friends, we're neighbors, we have famously disagreed in elections, but at the end of the day, we come together when times are tough to work together, to come up with great ideas, to find county funding that helps our neighborhood, and that's ultimately, politics aside, what local government is all about. So on November 7th, July 7th, you should absolutely consider those that have been hard at work for the past 2-3 years working for you, and join me in supporting the column. As I was saying before that quick interlude, this has been a great conversation. It's raw, it's upfront, it's frank, it's who I am. And that's what I think Hoboken and Hudson County needs more of. We need independent voices. We need people that are going to have opinions, that are going to stand up, that are going to say them. I believe that this show can be about offering new voices to not just Hoboken, but to Hudson County, and working with Hudson Media Group, using their platforms to communicate what this county is doing, what Hoboken is doing, is strong. Because ultimately, not just during this pandemic, not just during times of crisis, but Hudson County is always strong, but we need to come together to be stronger. So I'm gonna use this show as a voice for everybody. I hope you'll join me in the future, and we're gonna find an earpiece that actually works the next time around. So thank you for joining me on Mike Behind the Mic. Thank you to Pat and his team over here at Hudson Media. And everybody, happy 4th of July. Please enjoy the time with your family. Get out, be safe, stay healthy. Thanks so much for watching.